Okay, I think we are back. Yeah, we are back. Internet issue seems to be resolved for now. Okay. So back to. Okay, so I think we are back. Let's see. Internet check. I hope the internet is working. And it's working, I guess. Internet check. I'm checking using messages, and on my mobile phone at least it shows that messages have been received, so that's great. Yeah, where were we were yeah, we were just trying to convert this message to space bar everywhere, and we'll remove the starting and the ending bracket, and we'll copy this whole string and we'll paste it here, and we'll try to convert. This is decimal. Cannot be hexadecimal. Weird. So I'll just copy it in Python. That is easier. So I hope I have Python installed. Okay, there it is. We have the array, and then for I in A, let's do map a comma lambda of x comma char of a. Okay, I think it's other way around. First there is a lambda and then there is an a. Somewhat rusty. And let's convert it to a list. Oh, and it should be chr. Yeah. So this is what we got. Redis 001 u t. Okay, this looks like this honestly looks like the starting command. Like this looks like the file that we had. So somehow even the file is being transmitted to the replica, which is very weird. Basically, we should not be having this message with us. So the question is, why is this command coming to replica? Okay, according to the exercise that we have, this is something like which our replica will be doing, right? So we'll be starting replica, and if our replica is getting a command, let's see, why is our replica getting such command? Basically this should never happen. Should never reach here, but we are getting here, so have to find out why. So let's go back to where we were. This is handle input. So handle input is being called from main.rs. One place is here. Yeah. So in this, there is something called as send to master and response, and we'll get request buffer. So listening to master for commands, and master sent this command to us. I guess for now I won't throw an exception, and I will skip this message. I think since we only care about array responses, I'll for now as a hack, because I'm still not sure why this is happening, but I'll just add a log line saying let's see, error should not have received a binary command skipping the command. So we'll skip the command by basically GCC by it, and we'll return this thing, which basically means the response that we want to return, and should this guy talk to the master or not. Basically all the time it should not reply, it should not propagate these commands. But what I'm thinking is happening is when you go to handle command, there is something called as this bool, which is like send to replica and send to master. And in this case, when we receive a binary file, what happened then? So if we receive a file, we just return false. So it should never have been propagated, but it's not happening. So let's see what happens. Okay, ignoring the binary commands. Let's see if this thing can be resolved. Okay, build is successful. Let's see how many test cases passes. I really don't want regression to happen. Like, I don't want to do exercise 13 again. That took really long time. But yeah, if it happens, then we have to resolve that issue first. But yeah, why are we getting this thing? I have some doubts, but we'll find out soon enough. And these are the logs. Awesome. Lot of warnings. I really should take time to resolve these warnings. And as usual, we failed at this point. So as I thought, the exercise number 13 is still failing. but this time we didn't receive any exception. It's just that it simply failed. I feel like there is a race condition somewhere. And we should resolve that race condition. So I'm skipping the binary file now completely. Okay, I'm hoping this is some other issue. So we are getting some binary input, like this should be get and some other command, and our program returned -1. So there's a 4 of 5 attempt, 2 of 5 attempt, and 1 of 5 attempts. So there are some attempts that it did. So we received the byte, and where are we processing the redis RDB file? Okay, so this is the reply from master, sent RDB file, and then our program received the RDB file. '43, '70, '85, '76. This is the RDB file, I think. Well, it's easy to check. 82, 69, 68. Yeah, seems to be the case. This is the binary file that we received, and we skip it completely, and then we get some request like this thing. But the thing is, does this file consist of any data that we require? Let's see, I'll just copy this whole value and let's see. So let's create a new temporary file, and let's join all of them. After joining them, we can just use again the same thing, but I guess somewhere we made a mistake. Some temporary file, something, and then we, let's see, 53, 99, 100, 99. So this is the RDB file, and this is the whole command. Oh, so this line seems good since it starts with 10 and there's a ending comma. This also seems good. This also seems good. This also seems good. Seems good. And this is where things are of an issue. And this also looks good. And now what is the issue? Issue is unmatched brackets. Oh yeah, there is still one line that we haven't copy pasted. And we'll do map.lambda. We got plus full resync and then some big amount of data. And then we got the whole redis thing. So there's a first command called full resync. Okay, what do we reply when we get full resync? Okay, full resync. There is this. We get resync, and then the master needs to respond with full resync. That we did. So yeah, once we have received full resync, we just wait. So this whole full resync is done. And after that there is a new whole array starting from $88 something. This should be separate commands, but it's coming as one command. I guess that might be one of the issue. Let's see. So we got handle input, we got request buffer, we got command from master, and then we have a lot of responses. So in each response we see reply to master, if send to master is there, and maybe this is not the best place to write these commands. So there is something called as handling input, and input is a big array. And then we write the input here. Sure. So this input will be something that we need to read, and input is a array of values. It's a big array which can be resp or full resync. Let's see. For us, what was it? Listening to master for commands and then accepted new connection. So when we received these commands, we do print handling input, but it's not like we always have to handle the input. This is reply to master, and when we get the input, if it is master, then well, should not matter. So this shows what is the value that we are handling, and then we start from request buffer till from current index till the end of the value. But does it make sense? So just deserialize only part of it, and whatever it have deserialized it will send. So from current index till n. Yeah, so basically let's make it better. Sure, there is input, but let's call it handle request buffer of current index till n. It should be current index plus n, which just shows the length. And what is the issue now? Issue is have not closed the brackets properly. And now I have closed the bracket properly, and it's saying that I don't know the size of it. Sure. And I wish to write it in binary format will be a bad idea. Let's write it into ASCII, or try to write it into ASCII. Sure. So I guess we can take inspiration from the RDB command, where we print ln. So this prints hexadecimal binary, and I wish to print it in ASCII basically. Yeah, ASCII will be the best way, since I should be able to read this whole data. And it can be lossy something. String slash from UTF-8 lossy. And I hope it have display implemented. And this works. Okay, handling input. And now if we go to main.rs, and there is something called reply to master, commands from master. Sure, now I don't think we need to print this, because we'll always get these value. So I can just comment this for now, and maybe in the future we can remove it. Let's see, what do we have? Handling input. Let's see if we were wrong or not. Displaying separate commands for the displaying separate commands in stream. And let's see, Codecrafter. Okay, let's see how it goes. Okay, so this time this command was done. I'm not sure why, but this time the 13th program got resolved. But we are still getting reply from master. Why is there a separate this thing? Master sent some bytes, so this is an array. Let's see, reply from master. Reply from master, we are printing it at 2 places. Both of them are being done at send commands to master, and there are multiple commands that we are sending. So this is I think when we try to sync with them, and then we are listening to master for command, and then we received an input like empty input. So when we are listening to master for command, if we ever receive n equals to 0, we just skip it and we keep reading. But why did they receive this thing? No content received. Oh, so they were expecting some reply for that particular thing. Oh, which is okay. I mean, it's in their right to expect some reply. But what was the first command that they sent? They sent repl-conf get x star. So let's go to lib.rs, look for repl-conf. But if it is a replica, then send to master is true. Ah, so now send to master is true. If send to master is true, then we should have printed reply to master, something like that. But reply to master was never printed. So we got this command. We got this whole 4370 value, which I think should be, let's say, reply from master. Who is printing this reply from master? reply. I think we should really make these errors more easy to understand. Sure. So this was never being converted to proper println, but I guess it can be solved if we just take the time to solve it. And this should be called as string from, and why is there an opening bracket? Mismatched bracket. Where here? Oh, this is the bracket that was mismatched. U8 doesn't implement display. Sure. But there is a function that is from UTF-8 lossy. Let's improve our debugging messages. Get commit -m proper reply from master. Get push code crafter. Okay, so this failed again at a point where it failed at replication 13. It seems to be there is some race condition or something weird is happening, but this time we have like full reply from master. Okay, weird thing, because in the reply from master we took the whole full resync and we never splitted it, which is not good. This should never have happened, but it's happening. So we read the full reply here, but ideally we should not have like the send commands to master. There would be, so we got a reply and it should have been split into request buffer. So how do we, like if I wish to only read a specific amount of data? So this reader.read, what it does is Let's see, this method does not provide any guarantee about whether it returns immediately or not. Then it must guarantee that 0 to less than buff.length non-zero n values indicate that the buffer has been filled in with n bytes of data from the source. So basically just gives us the size. And if we ever receive a command that is slightly longer than that, which we did, like we got full resync and some value, and then we had 88 and whatnot. So basically I should never process this reply from master, like we don't need to, but in some cases in the last value there can be like, how do I know? This is tricky. That's why it's failing, because sometimes the stream is separated and sometimes it's not, and when it's not we fail, but when it is separated it works for us. So like we got this whole stream in one go in the listening to master for commands. So basically in this send command to master, so basically in this send command to master we should also be listening to, like, analyzing the response of it, because sure we will wait for ping and then we'll get some response, right? Then we'll wait for pong, then we'll wait for REPL port, and then we will send the command async init. But the issue with the last one is that every time we are sending some command to master we also read from it, but last time when we read, basically we should use the same request buffer for this whole reading thing, and we'll fill this request buffer with some amount of size. Sure, so we'll do this. We'll actually send the request buffer with this whole thing. We don't want to where is the request buffer? It's being used at here, reader.read request buffer. Most of the time we'll ignore so this will be u8 column request buffer size. Okay, and this will return, this should be mutable. Then we got reply from master, and then we should be returning end in the end. Basically this will return use size. Awesome. And now send command to buffer master will be sending @mute request buffer. And what is the issue now? Let's see what is the issue. Cargo build. Expected array and found a vec, which is okay. I guess I just need to specify that it's not necessarily size that we are aware of. Request buffer. And we can just remove this. So this is the place where we will be reading from the request buffer, and I don't need to do this. Basically there is an already here, and this should, let's see if it builds correctly. And yay, it's building correctly. Using the same stream for reading, for what is it, for handshake and handling commands. Get push code crafter. Okay, so we have received our error. So the part that is failing is the third exercise, where what was the third exercise? It was this thing, the info command on a replica. Okay, so what happened? So reply from master, full resync, and then we have this whole string, and then there is a listening to master for commands. Okay, so if n is not equals to 0, we read, sorry, if n is equals to 0, then we read. And once we read, we know that we don't need to worry about it. So once I have processed this whole thing, I should just make n equals to 0 again. This is a big hack, like for first time, like I wish to read the stream. So if n is equals to 0, then I wish to read it. Otherwise, I wish to read it later, like in the, if n is equals to 0, I wish to read it. And if n is not equals to 0, then I wish to go to the next part where I am handling the input. But if I base my condition on n equals to 0, it would be like, seems very much hacky. So first time this should happen, but this whole thing of stream.read should happen later. Yeah, I guess this is a lot better. I'll do this only. I'll do this every time we are done with the stream. This is a lot better. We'll do stream.read and I can just remove everything from here. And next time, if n is equals to 0, then I should return some error. What error should I return? There was a case for n equals to 0. I don't remember what was the case, but let's see. So if n is equals to 0, I'll continue. I'll retry the loop. But when would this be 0? Because according to documentation, if it is equals to 0, end of file and will likely no longer be able to produce bytes. The buffer specified was 0 bytes in length. I guess, yeah, it's better to continue here. While so this is a loop where will only break if n is equals to 0, will continue. Awesome. So keep reading the input stream until we are, maybe in the future this will be something, but for now this seems to be good enough. And what should we call it? Read input stream once before processing response. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so finally some exception again. Really awesome. Let's read it. So listening to master for commands, handling input this thread panicked at not yet implemented at source.lib.rs 269 colon 32, which is perfectly good. Since we don't know how to handle full resync, I can use this 269 plus 32. 269. Also, we finally received a string. Okay, just a second. I'll just close this thing. Yeah, perfect. So this is the same case here. Should not have received a string command, skipping the command. Let's see. Let's cargo build it. Skip reading binary string commands. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so we are back now. Let's see what failed and what was successful. So we had a full file, and then we listened to this thing, and then we were handling this input. And what is the issue? Handling should not have received binary command. Skipping the command, what? But it's $88. What does dollar mean? We have set var and then we have get. So in the first case, when we received this whole string of things, we are skipping the command for should not have received a binary. But this seems to be a file command. And how are we differentiating between binary and a file is by deserializing it, and anything that starts with dollar but if it ends with /r/n, then it's a bulk string, otherwise it's a RDB file. But if we ever receive binary here, then I should assume that this is a file thing. So binary and file should be considered same. But is there a /r/n in the end of this? Ideally there is, right? Yeah, I guess there is this is a full command, and binaries are difficult to parse. Not difficult, kind of impossible. So I'll think that this whole binary is actually a file. So what I'll do, I'll just remove the whole file data structure and we'll see if it can use this or not. So let's go to the serialize function. We'll go for dollar, and it can be RDB or it can be this file, but no matter what it is, will return always the binary data for this. So it doesn't matter if it is RDB file or not. This should also return a binary. And let's remove file now for now, since file and binaries are exactly same. This is the issue now. In serializing it, we always have to ensure that I think I should be careful by looking at the value here and making sure that I am not and what is the issue now? The issue is in lib.rs 120. Okay, so now we have the whole binary values with us, and actually I like to state that this is binary, and this whole amount of data I wish to comment it. So whenever we receive a binary, we'll try to process them to be a file, and we'll remove this whole segment. Let's see if we can build it, and no, we cannot. We need data here, so let's call this data. Cargo B. Awesome. Let's call it get commit -m. Consider data and consider binary and file to be same. Okay, now we found extra data in the end, which we never wanted. That is /r/n. So there's something called as found extra data. Sure, I remember writing this thing. Oh, this is while sending the values. Okay, so there is /r/n, that is extra. So it's a big hack since it is supposed to be a string but should not end with /r/n. So this is when we get full resync. So here we are sending a file and we are trying to serialize it. Whenever we serialize it, we will ensure that we are, for a particular binary, we always send /r/n in the end. So to ignore that, since I know that this serialize will be a vector of things, this whole result will be, what is the output of this whole thing? It's result, and this is size vec of u8. So I need to skip the last two. So dot skip pop removes the last element from a vector, return it on none if it is empty. If you like to pop the first element, so would like to remove the last two elements. So you know what, let's call it result. Now let's let it be a mutable value. Result dot pop dot unwrap result dot pop dot unwrap, and let's send result. Now this should work. Remove /r/n from the binary data. Great. And now git commit -m, ignore the /r/ don't send /r/n when sending the RDB file data. Git push Codecrafter. So finally, more errors. Love errors. But this is now breaking at 14th program, and it failed at RDB file where we were trying to read. So they were trying to handle input REPL conf, and it thought that it's a file. So after they process the RDB file data, they handled empty string, empty string. Okay, weird, because after processing the RDB file data, they just wrote empty string here. This is empty map. This should be returning a length. Processed. What is the spelling? Most probably it's a length issue. Processed. Really. So in case of binary, we should there can be cases where the length is not always plus or equals to n, because we need to split the data, right, at certain point. But what happened here was this whole RDB file thing, there was still some input pending. So they went till used memory. So the handle input should be returning some kind of, well, here it doesn't return anything, but I know that it should, when we are deserializing the file, it should give me the binary data itself there. So we got the binary data here. So in this data that we have received, there is no, let's see what happened when we try to deserialize a file. So if it ends with /r/n, it's good, but if it doesn't, so this ends with /r/n. Which is weird, but this is the whole input. In the RDB file, there is no /r/n in the end. So if it went to parse bulk string, then there was no printouts happening. So most probably there is a /r/n in the end of the binary data that is being sent. Basically, who will receive the RDB file? Only replicas will receive the RDB file. So cannot I have a hack here saying that seems weird. Okay, so things to consider here is this whole thing deserialize. But anytime it's deserializing the master on replica, it will never be able to understand binary data. So this is not something that I can rely on properly. So this whole thing, parse bulk string, this returns U size and everything, right? Sure, so if it ends with this thing, then I'll return whatever input that I have received. Okay. This should be handling input. Then it processed RDB file data. So let's assume that it was able to process the RDB file data. And we incremented the current index by n. When I'm parsing bulk string, I'll return the size plus this thing, but if I'm parsing RDB file, I'll be returning p plus 4 plus n has U size. This is very difficult to understand, but here since it have considered to be RDB file, then it knows that there is no /r/n in the end. But the thing is, even if it doesn't have /r/n in the end, so there is handling input /n, handling input /r, handling input $8 REPL conf. So this thing is failing at converting from U8 to something. Okay, so this is the full reply that we received. And then there was something else in the end. I need a marker to say how much input has been handled. Let's see, because I cannot find out where things are ending and where things are starting. Okay. Handling input. So there would be UTF-8 lossy and it will try to handle the whole input. Show property in the text. Get push code crafter. Okay, so let's look at the error. Oh, so there was star 3 or something. So basically, I need to tell how much file was parsed. Otherwise, there is no way I'll get any useful answer here. So maybe let's have a file, but it will return some kind of metadata like RDB metadata. But here it returns /r/n. This is the whole file, which is saying its string is 88. So I guess I should not even take care of like if it is 88 or not. So where is that deserialize function? This should be pretty easy to handle now since we know what is the size in this starting. So this gives you the first number saying how much value it have. So here it can be either a file or a value depending on how you are writing things. But how would I know, or how would anyone know if it is ending with /r or /n? Here we know that it will always end with /r/n. But I'm giving it extra to length. And I don't think I should. So what if I only consider +2n, and rest I can just ignore as a weird values? Yeah, let's see that. No, let's remove whatever this thing. So this is where it's being used, and I'll always do parse rdb file no matter what. It's a experiment which I feel will fail badly, but I should always ignore /r/n, which is okay to ignore since they don't really make any sense in any case. Yeah, this should be good enough. Always ignore /r/n in case of binary strings. Push. I guess there would be some regression, but it should go to ignore value and everything should work. I should have used the clap library. Let's actually take a look at clap. So there is this clap. And this is argument parser. Oh, I think it was called norm. Yeah, this is the one. Parser combinator library. Could have used it. So easy to use, I guess. Same as Haskell, I guess. Okay. And we have dead with stage 5 itself, where we are painting some kind of blueberry. So it painted some value. And then it handled star to $4. Yeah, that was really a bad idea. Should not have done that. That will break a lot of things. So I guess in the end, always check if it ends with /r or /n. If it is there, then eat them, otherwise consider it to be a file. Sure. And this is not the way to check it. Just go to bulk string. Once you have this whole amount of data, you can decide whether to have post plus 2 or some other size, but this number 2 you will add only if it ends with /r/n. So this will be considered as a file where you will take that whole input, and in the end you will add 2 if there is more data to be had, like if there are more data needed. Sure. So I'll just call this let rest comma use size length equals to parse rdb and try to reach /r/n. So let's see if this is the whole length RESP. If request buffer of length, let's call this pending, let rest be equals to this, and basically if rest is if length if rest dot length is equals to greater than or equals to 2, and rest of 0 is equals to b /r, and rest of 1 is equals to b/n. This is not result, this should be rest. If this case happens, we'll return rest comma length plus 2, rest comma length plus 2, otherwise we'll return rest awesome. Now this should always be working. So there is parse bulk string, and I should now always Try to parse bulk string. Who is using it? This guy is using it here. So let's call it. Don't need to consider the length since we'll always return the size of the value here. In all the cases, we just now this looks a lot better. And this should now be using, let's call it git add -p. Optionally so if /r/n exists, it will eat it, otherwise it will go to the next step. So this will try to do it, it will do its best to eat some values, otherwise it will just return whatever you have. But I think there are still some bugs, some corner cases that should be fixed. Let's see the regression, and we should get the result now. Awesome. So now we have something useful. So now it should be pretty easy to solve our issue. REPL ACK. I think now we are I think our problem should be solved almost. Git commit -m, make response capital. And I guess the whole exercise should be solved now. I guess there are still a few things left, like counting the number of bytes that have been received by the replica. Which should be easy to solve. And awesome. So it passed with regressions and every other issues that we had. So now we need to return the number of bytes that have been processed. The thing is, a REPL conf getx star will also send data back to the replica. 37 for the first REPL conf command. So whatever amount of data that this guy get should be stored. And where are we? So we have sent to master is set to true. So number of bytes command processed by the replica. So first time we receive a REPL conf, we should return x0. If it is not master, what do you mean by send to master? Oh, you mean reply to master. What else will I be storing? So it depends on the command that I have, which will store the result of these values. So who is calling this handle command value? This guy calls handle command, which is used by handle input. It totally depends, like so the thing is, should I also consider the file? So basically, whenever it's a master, like I'm replying to master or not. Let's say the replica should respond with awk0. The return offset is get awk command. Okay, the master then sends a ping command. So it doesn't matter. So there should be something called as a send to replica. Set is true, and I should not send anything to master, but I should count the values. So how do I know which commands to process? I guess I can always match for master and not master, since you always need to count these values. There is a send to master, there is send to replica, and then there is count. So there will always be some kind of count. Okay. What will that count be? We need a way to keep track of those values. This is handle command, and there we have handling the input. And every time we do, we just return some weird values. There's a binary data and whatnot. And who is calling this handling input? Basically, in the replica, listening to master fork commands, whatever input we receive, so we receive some input from master. Or okay, so I'm not printing anywhere, but I think I should be printing what happens next, like reply from master or input from master. So this should be called now command from master. Previously we had these logs, but I guess I removed it for reasons that I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure why I removed it, but this is called commands from master. But I should only consider valid inputs. Okay. Let's call it input from master. And now we should be good to go. So whenever we're reading from the stream buffer, we should write down these things. And let's see, get that -p, get commit hyphen, let's do cargo build first. Get commit -m. So these are commands print all bytes received from master. Now we have to update the offset, and offset we can always know by how much, by how many bytes we have processed. Just thinking, should I ignore the RDB file or not? There is printing RDS file to be 51, but there is handling input. Wait, where did I print this value? In the loop when we break. So yeah, seems to be good enough. But sure, I can just go to previous test cases. That would be easier. So 15 failed, but what about rest of the one? There is input from master with particular size. I should ignore this RDB file result. There should be something called as count toward offset. We need a variable called count toward offset. There are too many variables now. So which commands should we count and which commands should we not? So there is like send to master, send to replica, and we have like 3 signals. Any one of them can be set at any time. So maybe we should just create a struct, master struct, and just use that. Yeah, that seems like a better idea. Okay, I guess we have a solution now. Let me first look at that printing RDB file, right? This is not required now. This is not required now, and the other thing is this file is also not required, and this is also not required. Weird commits not required now, since we will optionally parse it. This is not required, and let's go to lib.rs, and not required now. The other thing that we need to ensure is, like, we'll be sending a lot of sender dot clone. So whatever this whole data point is, we should use that to find out whether we wish to send to master or not, send to replica or not, and whatnot. Because currently we are using a boolean value to signify that, and that seems to be very much painful to understand. So let's go to handle input, which is here, and there is something called as transaction, which is okay. To do create a struct of all the senders, like send to master, send to replica, count toward offset, and so on. Okay, so this should solve our issues. Let's see, git add git commit -m, added, cleaned up code, and added a to do, git push, and that's all. So I guess we are done. Ending the stream now. And thank you for watching. Great.